What do you say, guys? Welcome to Elephant in the Room. That's Jay Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Alabama and South Carolina play this weekend. It's a big game for Alabama, and it's a big game in so many different reasons. We're going to get into that, but first, let me play Jake's favorite part of the show. If that doesn't get you fired up, I mean, that's like the Dukes to Hazard theme, like that's like that the theme to A Team, that's like the Magnum PI theme. When that's coming, hard hitting.
Yeah. Makes me want to strap the helmet back on.
Well, man, we got a big game coming up on Saturday, and it's really turned into a big game. And I think the reason why is after that loss to Vanderbilt on Saturday, there's just a lot of people around the country that are looking at Alabama, and it feels like the dynasty might be collapsing, and Alabama can change that perception starting at 11 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, we sit here and we think about the struggles, and especially the Malachi Moore ending. To me, that what he did is not – it's unacceptable. You can't do it, and that's obvious. Everybody realizes that. But I think there's going to be a lot of guys internally that are getting after each other's ass, this week in practice. It wouldn't matter if we were playing – a high school team around here. I think we come out fired up. I think that reaction from Malachi kind of shows you his thought process. I mean, you're not talking about a guy who's had a lot of issues off the field, who you hear about in the locker room being a problem. This is a guy who's a captain, named a captain prior to the season, has really done a good job at holding that locker room together. Extremely out of character attitude coming from him. But to me, it also kind of shows you how serious he's taking this situation, and really how much this is affecting him, and how he feels as not only a player, but I think is how he's going to be thought of after he leaves Alabama, and it means a lot to him. Again, I don't support what he did. I think it's it was kind of ridiculous how he acted, but at the same time, you've got a guy who shown previous to that he's a high character guy, a guy you can trust. And so sometimes when you see a reaction like that from a guy that you really trust and appreciate, it's like, man, maybe we do need to look ourselves in the mirror, and maybe there's something really wrong here.
Yeah. Well, he talked about it this week and apologized, and I'm fine with the mulligan for him. I hope that other players don't think, oh, that means that I can act like that. But at the same time, if there's a guy in that locker room that has earned the right to make a dumb mistake, it's him. I mean, sticking by Alabama and, in the service and everything else. With that said, he talked about it. He apologized. It was sincere. I think everyone's ready to move on. And then he also mentioned that they were having a tough time getting the plays again. And you and I remember going through this last year. We talked about it on the show when Kevin Steele was being questioned because the plays weren't getting down to the field fast enough. And then they used Tavarius Robinson to kind of help get the call to the field. I know you played offense in football, but how frustrating is that for the defense to have to deal with not knowing what the plays are? And could that have been why Alabama looked so off balance on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a much bigger deal for the defense to not get those plays in quickly, because you're sitting there adjusting to the offensive side of the ball, and you have much less time to decipher what they're doing, what they're trying to do. When you're running quickly like that, I mean, it's kind of like the no huddle. We're lining up and just running plays. The defense can't really do what they want to do and disguise things and bring exotic looks, because they're having to just adjust and just align quick enough to be in position for when the play starts. So, I mean, it's very hard to me for a defender to get a play in late, and you have no real time to to see what's going on outside of where you're supposed to align. Offensively, when we didn't get plays in, it was very frustrating when it took a long time when we were in the huddle and then you had shifts and motions on top of that just because you felt like you're going to have to rush everything and may not get the play off. So, I mean, while it is a big deal in offense, I feel like it's probably puts you in a bigger, a more problematic situation on defense.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they get it fixed. I just have this gut feeling that they come out with their hair on fire this week. I can't imagine them not being 110% prepared to go out and take care of business against South Carolina, and I think this could be something that leads to momentum.
Yeah, and I'm hearing, that I'm hearing there's some. I mean, it's not like I've heard specific stories or anything like that, but I have heard that guys it's pretty intense in that facility this week. Again, I don't think that it matters who we're playing this week. I think we come out angry, and guys are going to be held accountable in this. And I don't think there's going to be a lack of physicality in terms of our potential physicality. So I really like what I'm hearing. It's not necessarily a bad thing for there to be a lot of tension in the facility after this. I think there should be if you have pride in what you're doing and you want to win. I think guys are probably, it's probably a little cutthroat around there, and that's probably how it should be. I know, again, after we lost to Ole Miss my senior year, it wasn't a fun week in that facility. I mean, guys were not happy with each other. Tensions were high. I mean, it was like there could be a fight at the drop of a hat, and you really got one chance out there before somebody was at their breaking point. And so I think that level of intensity kind of sets you up to increase the level of play throughout the season and understanding you really don't have any chances anymore. And look, with the 12-team playoff, we can probably lose 2 games. We can definitely lose 2 games the way that this season's going with everybody losing so much, or at least it seems that way early on. But there's a lot of tough games we got left on the schedule, and to only lose one more for the rest of the season is going to be tough to do. If we don't pick it up, especially defensively. And I'm not ready to. I saw Mark Ingram saying we have a real problem, and by watching the games, I mean it does look like we've got some problems on defense. I think anybody can tell you that, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel or say that we're done on defense so far. I do love Kane Womack. I think he's a great coach. I don't think anybody coaches under a microscope like they do until they get to Alabama. And, that's something I think you kind of got to roll with the punches with. And I think we got a lot of room to improve. Again, it's his first season here. It's a new scheme for everybody. And there's going to be some growing pains. But, everybody's, again, it's a tough place to play. It's a tough place to coach. And that pressure gets applied quickly, especially when you beat Georgia and you're number 1 in the country at any point in the season. The expectations go from here to way up here. I mean, the over-under on total wins this year was 9, and I think that was pretty realistic at the beginning of the season. And, you come out and beat Georgia and you see where your potential ceiling is. There's a lot of pressure applied after that.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, that the ceiling of this team, but you also know the floor of this team as well. Or maybe Vandy comes out and beats Kentucky, overcomes a 14-point spread, whatever it is, and we find out that this is a legitimate team. But I feel like the enthusiasm wasn't there. I felt like it was a total hangover loss for Alabama.
I do too. I mean, to me, this is not all on Kane. I mean, look, everybody's going to say that they saw I can't remember the guy's name, but the one robber look, and that we did that too much on 3rd down, and sure, you can say that for sure, but at the same time, just the consistency of their offense beating us that doesn't happen if you've got guys making plays here and there at least. And I felt like we didn't every guy didn't have a sole focus on dominating their box, as Coach Saban would say. And again, that comes to me from just lack of preparation and also just a lack of physicality, a lack of focus.
Right. Yep. No, I think that's it too, man.
They're
chomping at
the blame goes all around.
That's right. The offense could have ran the ball a little more, could have held on to it a little bit more, giving the defense a little more time to breathe. You win as a team and you lose as a team.
Yeah, man, teams, championship teams know how to win, and even in ugly games, you gotta find a way to win. Does that mean sometimes the offense does have to play perfect. Sometimes you got to make more plays than usual, or play a perfect game to win. That's what championship teams do. And again, it's we're kind of getting past that early in the season phase. And we gotta show that we know how to do that. Last year we made a lot of plays, beat Arkansas. That was an ugly game. Made a few good plays there at the end to finish them off. But you got to make those plays to win, and you can't have mistakes. Can't fumble. Can't have interceptions. That interception, I think Ryan Williams is unbelievably talented. I think he's going to be one of the best receivers to ever come out of Alabama. I think he's got to get a little more crisp on running those intermediate routes. But again, you can't have turnovers like that, especially in games where you're not playing well on defense.
Right. And that's kind of what you get with a 17-year-old. I mean, some things, the guy's amazing. I mean, he does amazing stuff, but it's not like he's really had a lot of time and experience doing stuff like that. And they're using him a lot more in the pass game. And you hope that Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law will contribute a little bit more, and that they're both healthy. And then both of those guys are practicing. Both of them are banged up. And if not, I mean, I feel like Ryan Williams is a special talent, but I don't know that he's ready to be a possession receiver. I almost like him as the home run hitter, and then using other guys to be the possession guys. We definitely missed Kendrick Law. I joked about him not being a blocker, but being a receiver. But then when we came out against Georgia and he was blocking and doing such a great job, when he went out, it really hurt the offense. And you could see how important he was because he's able to block. So you hope that you get him back as well. But it really, the offense hasn't been a problem. I mean, they can score at any moment. They go down the field on anybody. It's the last 6 quarters of defense have been not great for Alabama. And I think that's an easy statement to make.
Yeah, I think the majority of anybody who's watched us play is coming to that conclusion, and again, it's the offense. You have it for 15 minutes last week. You score 5 touchdowns with 2 turnovers. That's pretty. So I think we had what 8 possessions.
Yeah.
8 possessions, 5 touchdowns on 8 possessions. I mean, that's a pretty good percentage. And now again, it is Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt is not very good on defense. They're pretty sound, and they take care of their assignments on offense. But defensively, they're obviously they're not going to be the most athletic team we've played all year. I mean, they don't break. They keep things in front of them. But yeah, defensively, you play a team that can execute, and even if you are playing the same thing on third downs, if you got a team that has a quarterback that's accurate, can complete passes, it's going to be tough to beat that team unless you mix it up a little bit.
Yep. Hey, I think you bring up a great point there. So what are you looking for Saturday out of this Alabama team? What are the things that you're looking for besides having more points than they do?
I'm going to watch some South Carolina tonight. From what I saw against LSU, that they got a really athletic quarterback back there. I remember watching an LSU game, and some of it from what I remember of that game, it didn't seem like, obviously he showed his explosiveness. That guy can move. He can make a lot of throws, but they didn't. From what I remember, it was mostly big plays, and they weren't really, really consistent on offense, which, a lot of times that there's a correlation between consistency and third down conversions. And so I think I don't think we have as many issues there. But again, anytime you've got that athletic quarterback that can extend plays and make throws, you got to be a little bit nervous, especially when you're not a good third down team. So I want to see us get off the field on third downs. I want to see us pressure the quarterback, and without having to do that by bringing numbers. That's what I want to see. I want to see guys up front win their matchups and get to the quarterback, and then stop the run. Obviously, you playing a lot of that one high safety stuff. You got to be able to stop the run, and so I want to see us, get after the quarterback, stop the run, make them get back there and throw the ball, get back to physicality on defense.
Right, get back there and do that thing. I feel like this game it comes at a perfect time, because I think that if you're Alabama, you're trying to figure out some of the issues that you're having, right? And teams are adjusting to you, and now you got to make an adjustment. South Carolina's good, but they're not great. If you take care of business, they're beatable. Shane Beamer's definitely going to take some risks. And Mike Shula's back in town. How about that?
I heard that. I think, is this his second time coming back?
It may be. I can't remember the first time, but I remember this time. I don't remember the last time.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with what's happened in Alabama history since he's been gone. But you always want to see your guys, especially guys that played at Alabama, do well. And we did have I'll always remember that 2005 season, even though it didn't end very well. If Prothrow doesn't get hurt, I'd love to have seen how that season would have ended, especially after.
Yeah.
Man, that Florida game I remember just being so excited about where we could be, after watching us beat up on Florida that day. And then when Prothrow got hurt, it just seemed like, all the air went out of the stadium, went out of the season, and had a lot of potential, but hated to see it end that way.
I do too, man. I'll never forget that. I was at pretty much every one of those games. No one expected us to hammer Florida with Shula, and he did. It didn't end the way that he wanted it to end. Alabama obviously hired Nick Saban, and then the rest is history. And I haven't talked to him. He doesn't do interviews. At least he hasn't done any that I see. But I understand that there's still some hard feelings there, and I hope that changes. I hope that he gets a hero's welcome when he comes back to Tuscaloosa. He's a former quarterback, he's part of your fraternity, and he's a great guy. I mean, forget about the winning and losing. He did everything the way that you would want somebody to do that. His dad was my dad's favorite football coach. The old Baltimore Colts, Miami Dolphins head coach, legendary family. So, sometimes you got to let it go. I'm sure it's probably always weighed on him, but look, you got replaced by the best ever, and I'm sure there were some promises that he didn't get taken care of that were broken or whatever, but it's time to let go. And I just hope that we give him a huge welcome, and then we beat the hell out of him.
Yeah. It's kind of hard. It's just hard to argue when Coach Saban comes in and does what he does. It's hard to argue any decision that's been made throughout that transition, but you never know what happened internally.
Right.
But the end result, again, if it's all about wins, you got a hard argument to say Coach Saban, wasn't the best option for Alabama.
Oh, I know. I mean, you can't argue that at all.
No. And I say that I always really liked Mike Shula when he was out at Alabama, and still a big fan. And I don't know, just hope he enjoys coming back because, man, Tuscaloosa is one special place, and I think he'll get a hell of an ovation when hopefully he's getting on the field and taking a victory lap and all that, and hopefully our fans show him a lot of respect and appreciation.
I'm sure they will.
Hey, man, that's not an easy job,
Yeah,
Alabama, that's a tough spot to be in, and there's a lot of pressure, especially when you're the next quarterback coming in and being the head coach.
We're looking forward to seeing people tomorrow, Friday at Innisfree. We'll be there 1 to 4 with the Bama Tailgate Show. So swing over, and when you're there, make sure you show us that you sign up for Cover Crimson. Take advantage of covercrimson.com. Sign up $1 for your first month. Annual subscription gets you the Cover Crimson t-shirt, so take advantage of that. Show's brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Use the promo code NEXTROUND to double your initial deposit. That's with mybookie.ag. Final thoughts, man. Final thoughts on this week's Elephant. I thought Roger Schultz was a really fun guest earlier this week with one of our live, almost 3-hour editions.
Yeah, man, I loved Roger. He's got a lot of experience in broadcasting, but that 3-hour show felt like it went by in 30, 45 minutes. And, I didn't know I knew he was on The Biggest Loser and he had a lot of reach, but man, he's got some stories, some unbelievable experiences.
I know. It was pretty fun.
And then we sat there for another 30, 45 minutes after that show was over. You know?
Yep. It was a lot of fun talking to him.
Yeah, it's fun to talk to those guys that played. Well, I guess it's been 30 years since he played, 35 years, something like that. Great to hear those stories. I love hearing about Gene Stallings. I thought that was, I thought the way that he described the difference between Bill Curry and Gene Stallings was hilarious to me. You get in a bar fight, Bill sends you home. You get in a bar fight under Gene, you only get sent home if you lost.
Yeah, right. I could see that. I used to live next to a couple guys in college at Alabama that played for Stallings. Hayden Stockton and William Watts, part of the kicking crew. And they were my neighbors and good guys and tough guys and good football players. So way back in the day.
You watch, and I hate to go back to this because I just want to move past it, but you look at the Malachi Moore situation, and as a football coach, somehow you have to instill some form of, insanity, an insane type of aggression in your players to go out there and play physically and just dominate people, right? And then at the same time, you got to have a very high level of self-control out there, with that mindset. And we've heard the story from Ryan Anderson about, I think it was Dak Prescott in 2015. He goes to try to help him up, reaches his hand out, and I think it was Jaron Reed that slapped his arm away and was ready to fight him when he tried to help the other team.
Yeah, how funny is that?
It's just, there's just a crazy amount of just intensity out there, and you had to bottle up a lot of anger that you had for the other team just because of the way that you approached the game, the desire you had to win a national championship, understanding what it took. So, again, while you're in that locker room, winning for Alabama is everything to you. And so, again, to be a part of that team that lost to Vandy for the first time in 40 years, I'm sure it felt like the walls were caving in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be ready to go, man. My prediction. I think they're going to be ready to go. I bet they love the fact that it's 11 a.m. game. Let's get after it. Let's get this thing going. Let's pick up where we should have left off after Georgia. But being number one, they didn't handle it too well first time around. Let's see if they can get back up there again. Jake, it's been fun. We will do the elephant in the room next week, guys. Appreciate all of you. Get in the comments section. We'll talk to y'all real soon. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.